and today we're going to make gnocchi from Tuscany. And to do it, you need to start with some spinach. And here I have about 2 pounds of fresh spinach that I simply wilted down and squeezed out the water. And now we want to puree this in a food processor. So I'm going to dump it right in there. And you want to really make sure that you get all that excess water out. Otherwise, you're going to be adding an awful lot of flour. So in a food processor, you just want to puree it up till it's nice and smooth. And that looks good. So look at this gorgeous green color. Beautiful. And it's very dry, as you can see, and that's really important. Okay, so once you have the spinach, then you need to add the ricotta cheese. And for this, I'm using whole milk ricotta. If you didn't want to use that, you could use skim milk ricotta. And you want to drain that as well because it tends to have a lot of water. So what I do is I put it in some cheesecloth, in a cheesecloth lined strainer like this. And that gets all the extra water out. You see that? So you want that to be fairly dry. So a pound of ricotta cheese, and that goes right in our bowl. So you want to mix this up. So we want to add with this something that is a natural with spinach in Italy and in Tuscany, nutmeg. And here we have, about a teaspoon of grated nutmeg. So that goes in. And then about a teaspoon or a teaspoon and a half of salt. Mix that all in. And then you want 2 large eggs for this. So now you want to mix those eggs in really well. And I like to flavor this with some fresh mint leaves. And all we want to do is mince those up and put them into our mixture. Okay, so that's enough. About 12 leaves go in. Mix it up well. And now we have to add some flour. And this is the tricky part. This is the tricky part. We want to add also some cheese. So about, I'd say a half a cup or so of some good pecorino cheese. Or you could use a Parmigiano if you want. And I like a little bit of white pepper in that as well. About a quarter of a teaspoon. So here's our flour. And I'm not going to add it all at once. Maybe half. And mix it in. I think I need a little bit more flour in here. So you see, I'm not using all this flour at all. So once you have it all well mixed, then you can give it a little test. So in a pot of water, and I have a pot right here, you want to just take 1 or 2 and just try it. Just try it first. So just take a small spoon and scoop up a little bit. Just scoop a little bit up, that much, and put it in the water. Put it right in there. And if it holds together, then you know that you have enough flour. If it falls apart, then you know that you need to add more flour. And I'm watching this little gnocco come to the surface, and I know that I'm not going to need to add too much more flour, just a drop more in this batter, and that's all I need. Now we cover it, and in the fridge it goes. You have to have 2 soup spoons ready, a little bit of extra flour if you need it, either on the board and on your spoon, and I'll show you 2 ways to do it. And you just gather up some of this and put it right on the spoon. You actually want it to take the shape of the bowl of the spoon, kind of like an oval shape. Use your hands. And then you can just slide it off into some flour. And that makes the shape of the gnocco. Or you could take the mixture with a little bit of flour on your hands, resisting the desire to add too much flour, and just form it in your hand, just like that, you see? Making sure that it has an oval shape. And if you didn't want to form them on the tines or by hand on spoons, you could do them on the tines of a fork by simply taking a small amount of the dough and rolling it on a floured surface under the palms of your hands, very, very gently. You want to create a log shape, like so. Do this on a cool day, when the dough is going to stay nice and cool in your kitchen. It's often better to do this on a marble board. So you want these about the thickness of your middle finger. So now we can cut these up. You can cut them up into 1 or 1.5 inch pieces. Or you could take a fork, put a little flour on it, and take these and roll them right off the tines, you see? Right off the tines of a fork, just like that. And this puts a ridge right here in the front of the gnocco, and it also creates a space in the back, and that is where the sauce is all trapped. So you want to keep replenishing your fork with a little bit of flour, and then just doing that motion ever so gently down the fork. So that's another way of doing the gnocchi. I want to get the butter sauce ready. 12 tablespoons of unsalted butter. We just want to melt that down. This is the sauce for this, and it's very easy. So the butter goes in. So you want to add some sage leaves, about 10. So I'm going to add that into the butter. And once the butter is melted and the sage leaves are in, well then you can just turn the heat off and just leave it like that, because now the butter, the sage leaves will infuse the butter, and you'll be ready to serve this after the gnocco are cooked. And that's all there is to the sauce. Here are the others that I made for you, and you can make them ahead and put them on a flour-lined cookie sheet or bake sheet. Do not make them too far ahead of time. You can make the dough ahead of time, but don't form them too far ahead of time. You want a pot of boiling water. So in the water, you want to add some salt. So let's put in some sea salt, and then now you have to do this carefully. You have to do it carefully. You can't just plop these into the water. You have to put them in gently, because they're very, very fragile. So you get them in one at a time. After these are in, we wait for them to bob to the top. So let's just cover that. We're going to have to keep our eye on that. I think they're ready. So now we can fish them out. And for that, you need to use a slotted spoon. And you see how light they are. They're very, very fragile. So I'm going to take them out. You want to shake out the water and put them right in to that butter sauce ever so gently. Ever so gently, because you don't want these to fall apart. All right, so in the hot butter sauce they go. This is worth all the effort. Taking those beautiful gnocchi out. Look at this. Look at how gorgeous they are. And look at how they stayed together. And now the rest of that butter sauce over the top. We have to have a grating of pecorino cheese right over the top. So there you have it.